Kelly Dean Allen here with you again. Today going to show you how to play Train Train by Ricky Matlock and Blackfoot. We are in open E tuning for this tutorial. Now there's more than one guitar player in Blackfoot, or there was more than one guitar player in Blackfoot. I believe one of them was in standard tuning, but Ricky himself was in open E tuning because he's doing a lot of slide work in open E throughout this track. And I'm going to show you how to play all that slide work and the solo. So we need to be in open E tuning for this one. So you need to take your A string, tune it up to a B. Your D needs to come up to E. Your G needs to come up to G sharp. And your low E, B, and high E are all still standard tuning. So when you strum all 6 strings, you're basically getting an E major chord, right? So you can play a lot of one-finger power chords, which we're going to be using, or slide, right? So this song famously starts with harmonica, and when the guitars do come in, they come in with this riff. That right there. So we're starting with 3 open E strings, palm muted, quick little down, down, up, kind of like that, right? Then you're going to grab the 3rd fret of the low E, pull that back off to open E, and then you're going to catch the open D, open A on the upstroke together. And then right back to the open E twice with a quick little down, up. And then you're going to grab single finger power chords here, 3 off to 2 palm muted, kind of like that, and then repeat. Now you're going to repeat that 3 times, and after the 3rd repeat, we're going to play this lick. Right? So we're going open E, 2, 3, 4, all in one motion, only pick the first note. Then you're going to grab the 2nd fret of the A, pull that off to open, back to the 3rd fret of the low E, pull that off to open, kind of like that. Quick little mute, and then you're going to grab a single finger A power chord at the 5th fret position. Kind of like that, right? And then repeat. So that's the opening riff, which you're going to repeat twice at the beginning of this track. Right? And then we're into the first verse. We're going to repeat that riff 4 more times, but we're going to drop that little lick out of the equation. That little lick right there. We're not going to repeat that during the verses. 4 times. Now the 4th and final time before changing keys, we're going to grab that open D, open A, and just let it ring, right? Kind of like that. And then we're going to drop into a single finger power chord, or you can use your slide. We're going to move up to D, 10th fret position here, off to A. And then back to the riff, right? Twice. And then we're going to go into B, 7th fret, back up to D, and back to A, riff. And then leading into the 2nd verse, we're going to play that lick again, right? So that's the chorus, D, A, riff. B, D, A, riff. And then play that lick again, right? Into the 2nd verse. 2nd verse, same as the first, but let's recap, right? 4 times. Into D, use your finger or slide, off to A, riff, twice. Into B, 7th fret, D, A, riff. And leading into into the guitar solo, we're not going to play that lick, we're just going to play the riff twice, right? All right, then let's have a look at this slide solo here. So we're soloing over A to E, so basically this, right? And the riff, right? And then back to A. And then back to the riff. And then into D, off to A, and then back to the riff, right? And that's pretty much what we're soloing over there, so A to E. And we're going to start in A. And we're going to start with a nice slow slide from 14 into 17 of the G string. Kind of like that, right? Let's run through this solo first, shall we? And then we'll dig into how to play it. Pretty much the slide solo right there. So we're starting on the 14th fret of the G string with a nice slow slide into 17. Kind of like that, right? Into this. So 17 of the D, we're going to pick it a couple of times, back it up to 15, grab the 17 of the A very quickly, right back to the 17 of the D. Kind of like that. Into this. So we're sliding into 17 of the G, down to 17 of the high E, right? Back up to 17 of the B, back it off to 15 of the G, slide it back into 17, and then grab the 17 of the D. And if those notes are all ringing together, fine, sounds great, right? Now we're going to move off to E. With that right there, 10 into 12 of the G, up to 12 of the D, pick it a couple of times, play the same kind of lick that we were playing in A. Just back it up 2 spots, grab that 12 of the A very quickly, right back to the 12 of the D, right? And then before moving back into A, we're going to do this. So we're going to slide very quickly into 15, choke it off of the G, and then do the same thing to the 12 of the G. And then grab that 12 of the D, back it up 2 spots, grab the 12 of the A very quickly again, and then back to the 12 of the D, right? And that's the section in E before moving back into A. But before we move back into A, let's recap. So slow slide, 14 into 17, right? Now, we're moving back into A with this. Same kind of lick we played earlier to start the solo, but now we're going to slide out of 17 to kickstart it. And then slide back into 17 of the D, right? Back it up 2 spots, grab the A string, back to the 17, right? Into this lick. So we're going to slide into 17 of the B string this time and go back and forth between the B and the high E twice. And then back to the B string, right? And then grab that 15 of the G, slide it into 17, and then up to the 17 of the D. Right? And then back to E. Exact same lick. 10 into 12 of the G. Back it up 2 spots, grab that A string very quickly, back to the 12 of the D, right? And now, before moving into the rhythm, when we go into D off to A, right, we're going to grab the 11 of the G, slowly slide it back to 8. Right, and then we're into this. So we're taking that 8, sliding it into 13, and then 13 of the B very quickly into 15. Grab the 14 of the high E very quickly, and then back to 15, off to 13, grab the 13 of the G, and then basically reverse it, right back to the 13 of the B into 15. Kind of like that. And then we're going to go up to the A and D string on the 17s, back and forth a couple of times. Kind of like that. And then into 17 of the G. Grab that 17 of the D and slide out of it. Into this to finish the solo. So just two of the D into 3, back to 2 off to open. Then hit that open D a couple of times, slide into 3 off to open. Grab the 2 of the A with the slide, but don't really slide into it. Just grab that note off to open D. Right, and then grab the 2 of the D, give it a 3 little half step bends, off to open D to finish the solo with a couple of hits, right? So let's recap that entire solo. It's really hard to play this solo slowly with a slide, but let's give it a shot here. Slow slide, 14 to 17 of the G. And that drops into the harmonica solo. Now the harmonica solo is over A to E as well, but it's a little more choppy, the rhythm. Kind of like that, and we're grabbing that D. So we're hitting like 3 A's, A, D, and then right back to A. Right, and then off to the riff. A, D, A, D, riff. Then into B, into D, A, riff. And then you play that lick leading into the final verse. Final verse, same as all the other verses. Final chorus, same as the other choruses, right? Right? There is an outro slide solo, which is almost exactly the same as the main solo, so we're not going to get into it. A little variations here and there, but it's, you know, play the same kind of licks basically for a couple of bars. And then there's the final lick of the song. Right there. So open A, onto 2 of the A, off to open D, drop onto the 2 of the D, give it a quick little half step bend, choke it off, back off to open D, and then 2 of the A, off to open, grab the open D, grab the 2 of the low E, could be the 3 of the low E, I'm not sure. Give that a little you know, half step bend, you're getting the same note, and then off to open E. Right? And that is how you play Train Train by Blackfoot. Certainly hope you enjoyed that, found it helpful. If you did, please hit that like button right down there. Maybe drop me a subscribe if you haven't done that already, as that would be very kind. Hope you're well out there, and we'll see you next time, yeah? Cheers.